trying to tackle a lot of nuance that
Yeah.
comes with trying to figure out who you are, accepting who you are, and understanding that even though we're all different in different ways, I think that we're all allowed the space to discover who we are, what we want, what we value, and hopefully continue to give space to those while they're trying to figure that out for themselves. When it comes to acceptance of self, particularly when it comes to those of us that come from mixed race or multicultural backgrounds.
Mm,
I had a really good conversation with this young lady, yeah, some weeks ago. I know this isn't for everybody, but hopefully you will still appreciate, maybe you know somebody who might be dealing with this. But for those that aren't in the United States, in America for a long time, there wasn't necessarily, I would say, a celebration to a certain degree of people from families that are not all one same ethnicity. And it's difficult because, and I'm speaking as somebody who comes from that, it's difficult because that's a huge part of trying to figure out who you are, right? When you're talking about this authentic self. That's why I had to touch on this. Sometimes you're growing up in different environments. I'm going to use myself in reference to these stories I'm going to give. When you're trying to figure out who you are, the environments that you're in obviously will shape a large part of that. So for example, I spent time with both halves of my family, so my Black side and my Latino side, but then I also went to schools with a lot of white kids. And so naturally, I was quite conflicted for a long period of time. I thought that I needed to try to embrace or embody aspects of whiteness in terms of my dress, my speech, things like that, because I felt like that would help me assimilate and fit in better. Look less threatening, not necessarily I was thinking about that, but just definitely fitting in more.
right.
Because that's all I thought was important. That's all I thought I valued at that time. But as I got older, I started to intentionally surround myself with people who were like me, meaning their families were not from the same background. And the reason why I knew that I did that, especially around high school time, was because I knew that they had similar challenges and questions that I did, right? Because some of them, mom and dad didn't even speak the same language. So how they got together was amazing. So you're trying to understand how these different stories even unfold.
Right.
And for me, it became more important to allow myself to be around people like that, because it helped me better understand that it's okay that I don't fully live in one space. I don't fully live in my Black side of my family, my Latino side of my family, or trying to be around more white people in general. It's okay to embrace all aspects of that, and whatever that may be for you and your lifestyle. But when you're growing up, you don't necessarily always feel like that. For anybody who maybe has had this experience, you might feel like less than. You might feel like you hear certain comments that make you feel a little more like an outcast in these different spaces because you don't fit. And it took me personally, a long time to fully appreciate all those aspects of who I am. It really did. Because I knew there was moments where I was like, man, and I'm in this space, some people celebrate me. Some people look at me like I'm kind of like an other. Some people look at me maybe like I'm less than. And I had to learn to be okay with all of that. That's everybody's perception, right? Even if it's friends, family, or just society. But I had to learn that that was okay. You're allowed to have your opinion. Those of you on the internet, anybody looking here watching, right? You're allowed to have your opinion of me, and I don't care. I know my opinion of me. I know what journey I've come to figure out who I am and what I value and what's important to me and my impact I want to create in the world. So I don't need external validation. But for a long time, when I was learning and I was growing, it was very confusing. It was very challenging to figure those things out. And so I have immense empathy for those of us, especially that come from those backgrounds, not just those, but especially those, because it's a little bit more challenging, right? If your family all comes from the same place, it is fundamentally easier. Probably speak the same language, everybody eats the same food, you understand the same cultural traditions, norms, and values. It's a lot easier. When you're trying to blend, it is way harder. And I'll take it one little step further. When you have people in your family, that, especially in America, that don't look the same, that makes it even more confusing. My sister is a much more fair-skinned version of me. So some people who aren't used to seeing family members not all be the same shade, they're confused. You know, they look, they're like, how are y'all related? Or they think it's a joke. And I'm like, no, that's my blood sister. Like, we got the same parents.
Yeah.
They don't understand. They don't understand basic biology with phenotypes and stuff like that. So I get it.
It's too complicated. It's too complicated.
Yeah. But I'm like, but that happens, right? That's natural. But I say all that because, you know, not to stick to the superficial. I'm trying to go deep here, but also acknowledge that some people get caught up on the superficial stuff. Again, even with colorism. Some parts of the world, I just came back from Asia. I know over there in a lot of those places, they love, not everybody, but many of them, they value very fair-skinned women. So they'll go to extremes of covering themselves so that because it's being seen as more beautiful, right? And we know over here, a lot of us, even in the African American community, in the Black diaspora, in the Latino community, we value European-esque features. Not because we don't value us, it's because we were taught to value that more than us. Right? So it's like hard to, you know, we're grappling with that. Now I think we're trying to promote more of who we really are, our real hair, you know, our real shapes, stuff like that. But it takes time, because for a long time we were held to this standard and we couldn't match it because we don't look like that. So then we might feel less than. So again, I know this is it's a long-winded response, but I'm trying to tackle a lot of nuance that comes with trying to figure out who you are, accepting who you are, and understanding that even though we're all different in different ways, I think that we're all allowed the space to discover who we are, what we want, what we value, and hopefully continue to give space to those while they're trying to figure that out for themselves.